Have you ever wondered why your life felt heavier than others? Why the battles you face seem personal, like you were marked from birth? Welcome to Heaven's Chosen. This isn't just another video. This is a message, a warning, a revelation. If you're watching this, it means you're ready to hear what others aren't strong enough to face. Throughout this video, you will see yourself differently, understand your pain deeply, and realize that we've been wrong about everything. God is calling, not the world, you. So take a deep breath, because what you'll hear today might just change the way you walk through tomorrow. Let's begin. Some messages are too sacred to be heard by everyone. They're not for the noisy crowd or the curious wanderer. They are for the one who has been quietly bleeding behind closed doors, for the one who knows that their soul has been crying out for something more. If you're listening now, it means your soul was chosen to receive. Because the divine doesn't send random signals, it calls those who are ready to rise. You've always felt something wasn't quite right with the world around you, like you saw through the illusions. You noticed the lies, the patterns, the cycles others were blind to. People called you sensitive, emotional, paranoid. But the truth is, you were seeing the world as it really is. That was your gift. A gift that set you apart, even when it hurt. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were called to lead, to question, to break the mold. And for that, life put you through tests that others couldn't endure. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You had to be stripped of comfort to discover your true identity. Chosen ones aren't born in calm. They are forged in fire. And yet, you doubted. You wondered if maybe you were just broken. You asked why it had to be you. Why the silence from heaven when you cried out? But heaven was never silent. It was shaping your ears to hear the truth when the time came. And now, the time has come. You are not broken. You were becoming. This message, it's not a coincidence. It's your confirmation. God waited until your soul was still enough to finally receive this truth. That everything you've been through had a purpose. That you are not alone, and that everything is about to change, because you finally remembered who you are. We were taught to be quiet, to take the pain and smile through it, to forgive instantly, to swallow our voice, to carry burdens that were never ours to bear. We thought that was strength, that real warriors ever spoke of their wounds, but we were wrong. Silence was not strength. It was a prison. You stayed silent when they misunderstood you. You stayed silent when they disrespected you. You stayed silent when your spirit screamed for justice. But in that silence, your soul withered. And God didn't create you to disappear. He created you to declare, not your pain, but your purpose. The world made you think you had to shrink to be accepted. That humility meant invisibility. But humility is not denying your power. It's knowing your power and choosing to use it for good. Real strength is not the ability to take pain silently. Real strength is the courage to speak the truth, even when your voice trembles. You see, the enemy doesn't fear your silence. He fears your voice. Because when a chosen one remembers who they are and starts to speak, systems shake, chains break, darkness flees. That's why your silence was never holy. It was a lie you were fed to keep you from awakening, but not anymore. Now, your silence becomes sound, your pain becomes power, your scars become symbols, and your voice, it becomes the trumpet that shakes everything false to its core. You were not made to be silent. You were made to roar. You looked at the closed doors and thought they meant failure. You assumed the silence meant rejection. But what if the setbacks were sacred? What if every detour was divine design? You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. God was clearing the space for something greater, and He knew that certain blessings can only be received in isolation. When people walked away from you, it felt personal. It broke you. You thought they left because you weren't good enough, but they left because they couldn't come with you. The higher your calling, the smaller your circle becomes. Not everyone can survive the altitude of your anointing, so God allowed separation before elevation. You didn't understand why the opportunities you prayed for slipped through your hands, but now you realize they weren't delayed. They were protected, because not everything you want is aligned with what you need. God loved you too much to let you settle, so He blocked the blessing that would have blinded you from your purpose. The pain wasn't a curse, it was a compass. Every breakdown was pointing you to your breakthrough, but you were too focused on what was lost to see where you were being led. Now you see it. The path wasn't straight because you were being sculpted while walking it. And chosen ones are not handed the map. They become the map for others. So stop mourning what didn't happen. Start celebrating what God saved you from. The positioning was never punishment. It was prophecy unfolding. And now you're standing in the place where the pain pushed you. You are not lost. You're aligned. You sat in rooms full of people and still felt alone. You walked among the noise and still heard nothing. That silence? It wasn't rejection. It was a refining fire. God didn't forget you. He was separating you. Because before He uses a person publicly, He isolates them privately. The world taught you to fear loneliness, to associate it with abandonment. But chosen ones are called away before they're called forward. God had to remove the distractions, the fake friendships, the conditional love, because your purpose required clarity, and clarity only comes in stillness. While others were busy being seen, you were being shaped. While they celebrated surface-level wins, you were being filled with depth. You weren't being left behind. You were being set apart. Because what God is doing with you is not common. It requires a foundation built in solitude, not spotlight. You cried, wondering why no one stayed, why no one understood. But loneliness was heaven's secret classroom. There you learned to hear without noise, to see without validation, to believe without applause. That kind of strength only comes when the world is silent and God is loud. Now you carry a stillness the world can't steal. A strength rooted in the quiet places. What once felt like rejection was really a revelation. God wasn't hiding you, He was hiding in you. And now, you're ready to walk into the world carrying what only isolation could teach. How many times did you cry, wondering why your prayers went unanswered? How many nights did you ask, God, did you forget me? We all did. We mistook the waiting room for a dead end. But chosen ones learn a hard truth. Delay is not denial. Heaven operates on a timeline we can't see, but it's always on time. In the silence, your faith was tested. You started to doubt, not because you lacked belief, but because you were tired. Tired of holding on. Tired of pretending you were okay. But what you didn't see was that the delay was divine, because what was coming required a stronger version of you. God wasn't stalling, He was protecting. If you had received what you asked for too soon, it would have crushed you. The blessings you're destined for need maturity, discipline, and spiritual weight. That takes time. And so, the delay was your protection, not your punishment. The enemy whispers in waiting, "It's never going to happen." But he only lies when you're closest to the truth. When your breakthrough is near, distractions increase. So if you've been feeling pressure, doubt, confusion, it's a sign you're not far. You're right there. So don't quit just because it's quiet. Don't walk away just because it's hard. God didn't bring you this far to leave you unfinished. The delay was the final lesson before the release. What you've waited for is closer than it's ever been. Nobody likes pain, and yet it's the one teacher we never forget. Your heartache wasn't random. It was designed to reveal things nothing else could. When you were broken, you listened deeper. When you lost everything, you learned what truly mattered. That pain didn't destroy you. It taught you. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every closed door showed you your worth. Every time they underestimated you, you discovered a deeper level of strength. Pain stripped you of illusions. It forced you to see with your soul, not your eyes. That's not punishment. That's transformation. You wanted comfort, but God gave you growth. He didn't remove the fire. He made you fireproof. And now what used to hurt you can no longer hold you. Because pain didn't just visit, it trained you. Chosen ones aren't made in peace. They are forged in spiritual warfare. Your scars aren't weaknesses. They're proof that you survived what was meant to kill you, that you walked through shadows and still chose the light. Others talk about strength, but you became it. And now your pain becomes someone else's blueprint. So don't hide your wounds. Don't bury your lessons. You paid a price for that wisdom. Now, let it lead. God didn't waste a single tear. He turned it all into oil. And now, you walk anointed. From an early age, you noticed you were different. But instead of embracing that difference, you tried to bury it. You shaped yourself into what others expected, hoping to be accepted, hoping to finally feel like you belonged. But fitting in was never the goal. It was the distraction that delayed your becoming. You muted your truth to make others comfortable. You softened your spirit just to be tolerated. But no matter how hard you tried, something always felt off, like your soul was screaming while your voice remained silent. That tension wasn't wrong. It was the sign that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand apart. Chosen ones aren't wired for mediocrity. Your design was always meant to disrupt, to challenge, to awaken others by your very presence. That's why the room changed when you walked in. That's why people felt uncomfortable around your stillness, because your spirit spoke truth, even when your mouth was closed. The mistake wasn't being different. It was hiding it, trying to shrink your light so others wouldn't feel exposed by it. But darkness will never be okay with light. And the more you tried to dim, the more you suffered. Not because of them, but because you betrayed the very essence God placed within you. Now it's time to return to who you were before the world told you to be quiet. You don't need to fit into anything. You were born to shift atmospheres. You were born to lead. You were born to be seen. Not for attention, but for alignment. No more blending in. It's time to rise. We often wait for the right moment, for a sign, for confirmation. But the truth is, God is speaking now, not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel ready. His voice doesn't wait for our comfort. It moves with divine timing. And when he speaks, silence is disobedience. You've been feeling the pull, the restlessness, that strange aching awareness that something's shifting. That's not your imagination. That's divine communication. The world may call it anxiety. but heaven calls it alignment. Your spirit knows what your mind is still trying to understand. You asked for signs, but maybe you missed the fact that you are the sign, that your awakening, your desire for more, your discomfort in the ordinary, that is God moving. He doesn't always use thunder. Sometimes he whispers through your unrest. Sometimes he calls through your hunger. But many ignore the call. They wait for louder signs, safer conditions, clearer skies. They miss their moment. Not because God didn't speak, but because they weren't still enough to hear. You've heard it. You feel it. And now comes the test. Will you move, or will you mute it once again? This is not a message for your next season. It's for now. You were brought here for this exact moment, not to delay, not to hesitate, but to respond. The call has already gone out, and heaven is waiting for your answer. Sometimes, the darkness feels the heaviest right before the dawn. You think you're stuck, far from any breakthrough, but the truth is, you're closer than you've ever been. The pressure you feel now isn't punishment. It's the final stretch. The weight on your chest, the chaos around you. It's the resistance that always shows up before the release. You've questioned your progress because you don't see results yet. But the seeds you've planted are growing underground. Just because you can't see the roots doesn't mean they aren't taking hold. Heaven often works in silence, and the enemy knows it. That's why he's trying harder now, because you're almost there. Many give up 1 inch from the finish line, not because they're weak, but because the lies become louder. The whispers in your head say, "You're wasting your time. You're not chosen. Nothing will change." But those lies are proof that you're on sacred ground. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. You've already survived too much to stop here. Everything you've been through, the battles, the breakdowns, the betrayals, they all brought you to this edge. And what looks like the edge is actually the entrance. You're not about to fall. You're about to fly. So lean in, breathe deeper. Don't trust your feelings right now. Trust your faith. The distance between where you are and where you're meant to be is one decision, one moment, one step. And that step? You take it now. You've been running, maybe not with your feet, but in your spirit. Running from your calling. Running from your pain. Running from the version of you that God keeps trying to bring forward. But this is the moment you stop. Not out of fear, but because you're finally ready to face the truth. The truth is, you were never supposed to blend in. You were marked for something sacred. You knew it, but it scared you. The weight, the responsibility, the unknown, it felt like too much. So you hid. You delayed. You pretended not to hear the voice that kept calling you by name. But that voice hasn't stopped. And now, it's louder. Every time you tried to live like everyone else, something inside you broke. Because you are not everyone else. You can't numb your gifts. You can't silence your soul. And every time you run, it follows you. Because you weren't designed to escape it. You were designed to embody it. There comes a point in every chosen one's life where they stop looking back, where they stop negotiating with fear and finally say, "I'm ready." That moment is now. You don't need more signs. You don't need to wait until you're perfect. You only need to surrender to what already lives in you. So stop running. Start rising. Your destiny doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. And now that you've stopped hiding, heaven can start revealing. The world has yet to see who you really are. But God always has. And He says, "Welcome back." You didn't press play on this video by mistake. You were summoned here. Every word you heard was a mirror, a reminder of who you are and who you've always been. Not forgotten, not rejected, but chosen. Now, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what truth hit you the hardest? Which moment felt like it was written only for you? Because if this message reached your soul, it's time to respond. Not with fear, not with delay, but with boldness. In the comments below, tell me what you understood.
Tell me the line that shook you.
And let the world know that you didn't just watch, you awakened. Type, Heaven's Chosen, if you stayed with me till the end, so I know who heard the call and who answered it. We are not many, but we are ready. Your time is no longer coming. It's now.